Well, hello there ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today we go through the basics of Foundation. Now we're using Fluvial and a random map generator, and what you want is that dark green at the edge of a river because that will be relatively flat terrain for you to build a village. Now the procedural maps are actually relatively new to Foundation in the most recent release, which is 1.9. Now this game has been early access since 2019, but it is approaching the end of that journey. So let's confirm, and we will start on a new game with the assistance, because without it I have recorded footage without it, but it's better doing it with the help because you get extra coins and other stuff, and we will go over it over the course of the next about 30 minutes for this, and it is the first episode in my Perfect Start series, and I will carry on with this series and develop and build a full city. Now you can choose coastal, fluvial, hills, mountain or valley. They are fixed maps, whereas the procedural maps, if you click on generate, it will keep generating you new maps until you are happy with the one that you have seen. So this one that's currently showing, as you can see, it's got all this nice flat dark green terrain near the river, which is a great foundation for your village and where you want to start the game. So it's one of the reasons. Coastal is quite nice as well. You can get some flat areas near the coast. Hills is a lot more difficult because there's no water really. You might get the occasional little lake or pond, but other than that, what we want to do is get the game started. So let's go. Okay, so what you need to do now is buy your first piece of territory, and it puts you over a generic parcel of land, and you don't want that. You want to search around the map and find something that looks like an ideal location for starting. Now look at this. This has got some trees, it's relatively flat, and you've got your berries and your stone. Now those little red bush clumps are your initial food resource, and stone is obviously you need to harvest for building materials as well as wood. Now that little hill wouldn't be great. Most of these you can see all have a stone place to mine and a berry bush to harvest for food. But this here is the flattest and looks like it's going to be the best place for us to start our village. So here we go, we select this, and now what we need to do is put down our village centre. So we will go to build and village centre, and what you want to do is put it towards the left hand side, not right to the left hand side, because our residential is going to go to the left. Now obviously this is procedurally generated, so you're not going to get an identical, it's impossible, but you want something similar-ish when you're doing your own. So advice, organising work, let's put it into practice. Well, what that means is we're going to need to build a lumber camp and a builder's workshop. So a builder's workshop, then a lumber camp and a gathering post and a place for harvesting stone. Now for the workers camp, put it over near your berry bushes and stone, paying attention to the little spheres which are where people access it. And then you want to fully allocate 3 builders. So this is the only building that you will fully staff. I found tends to work quite well. Now next, click on the paintbrush and put a little blue circle, which is for extraction, on your berries and your stone, and then highlight your trees because you want to cut these down for wood. So we'll just cover all of them. There we go. Again, click off the paintbrush, and now we need to build a lumber camp. So again, rotate with the control key and left and right. So drag left and right with the mouse, and as you can see there's little green arrows as to where your workers will access the building from. Now we are going to be building a forester as well to reforest, and we will do all around that lumber camp. And what you'll see is as your little villagers start walking over the same path over and over again, it slowly turns into an actual defined path, which I think is really cool. It's quite a cool element of the game. Now I've reduced about 40 minutes worth of footage down to about the 28-minute mark, so I've cut out a lot of the chaff. So as we go through this, you're only seeing the key highlights and what you need to do to get this game started. There is a lot more depth to this game than this episode is going to show, because obviously this is just the start. So we allocated 2 woodcutters to our lumber camp, and now we need to gather food. So we need to build a gathering hut. Now you want to build it near the berries. We could either build it to the left, or better probably to build it to the right. So I changed my mind here, so I then click and see that little red spade? There we go, destroy building. We haven't spent any resources yet, so it doesn't matter. So destroy, and then go back to the gathering hut again, and then decide where you want to place it. So again, rotate till you're happy, and then place the building and click build. And there we go, now it's defined, and our builders will head out and they will construct our gathering post. So next we want reforestation. So do it inside the blue area that you've marked for chopping down trees, but on top of that you want to add more as well. So we're going to go around where the lumber camp is and do this little reforestation area. Again, we'll do it down to the water's edge and make it a little bit bigger. That'll do. And then what we want to do is build a forester's camp. Now the entrance is there, so we'll do it facing the path. So we're kind of preordaining the paths that are going to be defined within our village, and that will be a forester's hut, and he will replant trees, and it's basically an infinite supply of wood. So we've now allocated 1 forager, and that forager will now go and start gathering berries, and that will tick off the next part of the tutorial quests. And as I said, you're better doing the tutorial quests because you get extra gold coins, and it does get the initial part of the game done for you. Now the next thing I'm doing is increasing the game speed to 3, and we're going to run at high speed. You can decrease and increase it at your leisure, and we've got some new advice to be heard. Okay, so let's put this into practice. This is needs and happiness. So we need a market and we need fresh water. So fresh water, of course, is a well. So let's put this into practice. Again, we need to also build a granary, and you want to put your granary near your gathering hut because that's where you're going to store your berries. Again, rotate it till you're happy with all the access points and decide where you want it and place that down. So there we go, build. And of course for that we need stone, and as of yet we do not have a stone camp, so let's do a stone cutter camp near the stone that we have. Again, there's an in and out. You can see the 2 little green arrows, so let's put it so it's lined up with the stone nicely. That'll do. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll start jumping forwards. Okay, so let's jump forwards a bit. There we go. So our stone cutter is finished and is harvesting stone, but we don't have any yet for our granary because our granary needs 5 stone. So there we go. Now we're starting to get stone. We'll be able to build the granary. Again, I will keep skipping forwards as we do the core basics of the game for this first episode. So again, we add a second miner. That will increase our capacity for mining stone. Now, if you look at the top where it says villagers and there's a building with a strike through and a number of 2, that means we have 2 unemployed serfs. So we still have 2 extra serfs that we can use for giving jobs as we build buildings, and it's important to leave some extras. Or what you can do is you can go to a place, you can click the down arrow, click the X, and that means that person is no longer doing that job, and you now have an extra serf that you can allocate to a building. So it is worker distribution. How you distribute workers is entirely up to you. But I would make the suggestion that you just monitor it constantly. So we're going to assign berries within our granary. So in there, you click the assign resource and you assign berries. And we also added 1 worker. Now we just got an extra 100 gold coins for that, and we now need to buy a new territory and paint a residential area. Now, having a look at the territories that are nearby, we've got this one here. So it's relatively flat, a lot of forest. Or we've got this one, which is masses of forest and a flat area. And at the back here we have this, which has got mineral deposits. Well, that's great, but we can't do anything with mineral deposits yet. So I would make the suggestion you just decide which territory you want to purchase. It's entirely up to you, and you can buy all the ones that are adjoining your existing territory. So we'll buy this one over here, and there we go. Now what we need to do is define a residential area. So we need our paintbrush and we need residential. So we will get that defined. So again, draw out a relatively big area. So we just keep going until we're happy, and as you can see there are already foundations going down for houses. Now we right clicked there in the middle because what you want in the middle is your market and your well. So you want your source of water and your market stall in that little circle that we just done. Now not remembering exactly where it is not a problem. I'm just trying to line up the well with all the houses that have gone in so that they're close to water. And then the next is you want a market stall. Now this is a pin, so you're marking the location and then you add the buildings. So we put down this marker, and then you want to select a function and you want a market stalls court. Okay, so now that you've done that, you can put in a market stand. And for now, we only need to build one, and we don't need to make it fancy. So that ball is where the seller stands, and obviously the people come to the other side to collect their goods. So rotate it into a position that you're happy with, click OK, and then lift up. So left click and drag up so that you can see the build button, and click build. Okay, so click there for close all windows. So that far right option is just close all windows, which is very handy, especially when you've got lots of different tabs open and you just want to close everything in one go. And so we need to build the well, build a market, we need to assign a market trader, and that will tick off this next part of the development of our village. Now, as you can see, we've got our reforestation zone, but what we do not have is our cutting zone. So again, go to extraction and put your extraction zone where your forester is reforesting. So there we go. And again, paint the whole area, and then you can come back out again. So what your woodcutters will now do is cut down all the trees that the forester has been planting for extra resources. So our market stalls court has now been built. Our well has not been constructed yet, but that is fine, and we are running at full speed. So we will also need to assign berries. So add a trader, assign the resource, and click berries. So now the berries from our granary will be transported to our market bench, which our residents will then be able to pick up and eat as their food source. And of course, once the well is constructed, they have both of their basic requirements, food and water. And what that will do is it will increase the desirability of houses being built in that area. So it's a bit like kind of SimCity-ish. Desirability is improved by beautification and everything else. Now, we don't have any of that unlocked at the moment. We just have the basic stuff. But later on, you can beautify buildings. You can add decorative pieces. You can enhance your markets. There is a lot of configurability to this game as you progress through. So here we go. Desirability, you can see high, average. And what I'm doing is I'm right clicking just to clear out that center circle so no one goes and builds a house in there. Again, you can also get rid of your view of your zones, and you can also see desirability, mineral deposits. Now what I'm going to do is add a second well. I didn't know whether I really needed to do it, but I thought to myself, do you know what, I'm just going to do this for the design aspects and how the village looks. And I thought, you'd have a second well, wouldn't you, near your places of work, so you didn't have to walk all the way home to get water and then come forwards again. Now, our next thing is profiting from trade, so we need to trade with the local town. So let's put it into practice. And what we need to now build is a sawmill, because we're going to need planks to be able to set up our initial trade deal. So again, build it near your lumber camp and your foresting area. So we'll put it, I think here is probably quite a good location. It's not very far from the lumber yard, from the lumber camp. And we'll be able to start making planks. And you need 20 of those planks to set up your initial trade deal with the local town. And then after that you need clothing and bread, which is obviously further into the game and as you unlock more stuff. Now we're going to assign a carpenter for now, or maybe two, and also by now you should have additional villagers appearing from the wilderness to join your village. Because we've already increased our happiness to 100%. It's another objective that I didn't show because, to be honest, it's self-fulfilling and it's fairly easy to do. Now if you go to here, here's warehouse. So all you have to do is click and it unlocks it for the cost of 25 coins, and we can now have a bailiff and we can have a warehouse. Now the warehouse I'm going to put near the granary. It's just like the storage area. So if you think like Frostpunk and other games that I've covered, you want all of your storage places kind of in the same place. So we'll build this warehouse, and then once the warehouse is constructed you can also assign resources that will be stored within that warehouse. Now again, I keep skipping forwards, so you can see this building is upgraded and it now has more than a capacity of 2 residents. It has a capacity of 6. And the residential areas are self-upgrading, so you don't have to do anything. So let's have a look at our desirability. So you can see we've got high desirability around here, and then the same as like a SimCity game, you've got red over where your working facilities are, which is why we've got this natural separation in the way that I've designed the village, because you don't, and this is fertility, so this is where we'll be able to plant crops later. And there we go, we've got another new villager appeared, that little plus icon, and we've got some minerals over here in the rocks. So again, get rid of that, and get rid of that, and then come back across. And as I said, we've got a new villager, so let's add. So all you do is you literally click the plus icon, and that villager is now part of your population. So we've now got a population of 13. Our original population was 10. Now let's allocate planks. So the same as the granary, in the background there on the warehouse, what I was doing was adding 1 worker and then assigning planks as one of the resources to store. So one of the other thing now is to go to resources, and here is our trade routes. So you can see you've got resources and trade routes, 2 tabs. We need 20 planks to unlock that initial trade route. So we now need to build a lot of planks. So again, I will just keep skipping forwards. So we now have 20. In fact, it just lit up there as I was switching between tabs. So what we could do is go back, but it's fine. We're not in any desperate urgency to get it unlocked. We're just going to have a look around at where everything is currently going. So everyone's busy working away. We don't have any spare capacity, but we are now able to unlock our trade route. So unlock trade route. So we've reached Labour Prospect tier, and we will have reached the same with all the other factions as well. And we have 2 more villagers, so we're now up to a population of 15. So now we need to allow the sale of planks. So click on the same tab but go to resources, find planks, and what you want to do is you want to sell. So click sell, and then you want to put a number. So anything above the number 10 you want to sell to make additional money. So that's a good way of doing things, and you can then do the same with other resources. Okay, so next up we have the manor house. Okay, so let's put this into practice and build our house. So what you want to do is have it as a great hall, and then we can add tax office and everything else as we progress. So first up we want to go to administrative, and we want to build a manor house. Now this is our personal residence in effect, and it's also going to be the great hall. So select, and you want great hall, which defines it as a great hall. And we can also already do a bailiff's office because we unlocked that earlier. Now we'll keep it simple for now, but these are modular, so you can build as much or as little as you want. We're going to keep it fairly basic because we can expand it later on. So there we go, rustic entrance and the building, that's enough. We want our visitor location at the front. There we go. And that is enough for us to do the manor. So click build. We need 5 tools, 12 stone and 14 planks. So again, build, and that will now get constructed. Again, I will skip forward. So build our manor house, assign tools to a warehouse, and allow tools purchased from the trade menu. So let's store tools in our warehouse. That's our second resource. And what we also want to do is go to tools and then buy until we have, and then select a number. So at the moment I would say maybe 8. I don't think you need much more than that, because most buildings won't require more than 8 tools to construct, and it means you'll always have 8 available, and when you use them you will buy more from your trading partner. Okay, again, so what we will do is we will skip forwards as the building is being constructed until it is finished. So there we go, it's finished. Now we want to build another manor house. Okay, so where are we going to put it? I think we'll put it down here to the edge, because this is going to be the bailiff's office or the tax office. We haven't decided yet. We could put it over there, or we could put it here. Doesn't really matter. And then select function, and this one we will do as the tax office. Now you have a few more extras this time, so we're going to put down a wooden hall. Then we're going to put a tower onto it as well. Where should we put it? We could stick it right in, or we could move it slightly off to the edge there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And we could add a wooden gallery and drop that on somewhere, or we could rotate it round and put it on. Now to actually get it to fix properly, you have to rotate it or just put a door on. So I think that's what we'll do. We've put the door on. There we go. That's what it's going to cost. And build. And we can't allocate a tax person until it has been constructed. So again, skip forwards. So there we go. The main part has been built. So we now have a tax collector. So the next thing we will want to do is collect our tax resources. So again, that's in the book. And it is in, so taxing villagers, so improve your manor house with a tax office. Well, we've already done that. So go to the book, go to your economy, go to taxes, and then click it, but keep it in the green. So there we go, plus 38 a month. So now we are earning coin from our serfs as they work and toil away in our village. Again, what we'll do is skip forwards. So there we go, that is now finished. And that is our tax office, and we now have Splendour and Estates. Now you've got Kingdom, Clergy, and Labour. So advice, the aspiration of a village. So we also want to aspire towards something. So we should all aspire to greatness. Go to edit down in the bottom left hand corner and click whichever one you want to do. So I just go with the famous builder, which you need to get to a prestige of 500. So quite challenging. So this is it. This is the end basically of the tutorial evidence, and we've also got a message from Kingdom. I am but your humble servant, plus 100 coins. So we got another 100 coins. So mandating a bailiff. So let's have a bailiff, and that will be our third manor house that we need to construct. Okay, so let's have a bailiff. Okay, for that we're going to need a third building. Okay, so again, build, and on our administrative buildings, we also can now build a church, but for now, we are going to build a bailiff's office. So we'll mark that here, near our town centre, and it's going to be a bailiff's office, and there we go. So we can now go wooden hall. Now, if you were doing free build, you could have just expanded the initial building and defined each part of the building as a separate function, but I like having them as separate buildings. And then we can put a little gallery onto the side. There we go, that looks quite cool. And there we go. So there's our bailiff's office, and again build, and that will now get constructed as well. So the initial foundations of our village are pretty much done, and it's now a case of just expanding from here and doing more. It's a good game so far. I've really enjoyed playing it. I've done like I think 3 or 4 playthroughs of this initial part of the game just to get a very good understanding of what I'm doing. And what we can also do is expand our residential area. So let's add this little area down here as well, and up here a bit, maybe make it a little bit bigger. And again, we can add some at the top as well. So let's add another bit at there. and leave some space to expand our manor house. So there we go, there's our residential area. Turn off our zoning, and again let's skip forwards a little bit. Okay, so there we go, it's done. So now we need to assign a bailiff so we can choose which one we want. So trade price bonus, job learning speed, happiness is less impacted. So the choice is yours. I'm going to go for happiness is less impacted, and that building is nearly constructed. There we go. So bailiff office has now been built. So we have our tax office, our bailiff office, and our great hall. So that allows us to do mandates. So what we want to do is click on our great hall, select mandate, and gain influence with one estate, and that's labour. We want to gain with labour. There we go, advice followed, and that is approaching the end of this initial episode. So that time has gone by very, very quickly. But as you can see, we have everything that we now need as the foundation of our village. So if you've enjoyed the content and you want to follow on for more episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. But other than that, I'm Know-It-All Gaming. I'm going to leave the last couple of minutes of this footage to just play out as I show you the size of the map and all of the potential expansion in the future. But here under Labour you can see that we have Manor House Splendour, Market Splendour and Hedges, and again under Kingdom and Clergy you also get other benefits as well. But as the game told you, they prefer if you focus on one. So you can decide whether you want to go for Kingdom for military, Clergy for a monastery, or Labour for just improving the overall splendour of your village. The choice, as they say, is very much yours. And you need to get 20 prosperity to be able to unlock the next set of buildings. So until then, I am of course Know-It-All Gaming, and all it leaves me to say is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course from me, good night, and once again, don't forget to subscribe.